I'm always reading things and researching things. I was curious, basically, how many preppers there is considered in the United States that they are aware of. Of course, now here's an article here by the Daily News. As you can see here, it's talking about the fish and everything. So it talks about now this article is a little bit few years older, but still says one couple living in a fortress with a stockpile of guns and 25,000 round of ammunition. Man keeps 1,000 fish in his swimming pool, so he has plenty to eat in events of the apocalypse. Uh, then they talk about the Doomsday Prepper Show, or the movement on that, focusing on that. Now, the thing is, here's what it talks about. There was once a time when preachers standing on street corners predicting the apocalypse would have been deemed crazy. I mean, and you know yourself, I've seen them standing on the street corners with the Bibles in their hands. You know, you'd be going to a group somewhere, whatever, then someone comes out with it. You've had them knocking on your door, preaching gloom and doom and agony on me, as the old Hee Haw song goes. It says there's like up to 3 million preppers in America. Now, but you know what? That's not a lot when you think about it. When there's 380 something million people, I think even more maybe in the United States alone. Think about that. That is not that high of a percentage when you think about it. Now it says there, so you know, shoppers will cross the street to avoid boredom. Of course, would avoid these people, and you know they still do. They avoid preppers. They avoid they just still do. They still go on the opposite side and they avoid it. They don't want to talk to them. It says as many as 3 million Americans now fall into the category of preppers. People who are making detailed plans for the end of the world as we know it. Now, I've got some of my friends that are strictly real organized. They write the list out of each day of what they're going to do. They've got everything organized in alphabetical order. Everything's very detailed. Unfortunately, I'm not like that. For me, mine is just a basic prepping skills. Mine is learning about nature. Mine is learning about from day to day, learning how to make this, how to make that. And every day I'm learning something new. Because for me, my chances are I'm going to have to be out there to survive, not in here. So I have to look at that possibility. But each prepper does things different for different reasons. So, you know, the preppers are a ever-growing group of survivalists who take extreme measures to prepare for a major catastrophe event. Uh, Again, I think it depends on the level of the preppers. I think some of them not necessarily considering worldwide. We have SHTF happening every day. It's in areas, cities, towns, countries, whatever. And in those events, when you can't get the Red Cross or other ones there to help you, you have to survive somehow. So it says one man from Phoenix gets 1,000 fishes I was talking about in the deep end of a swimming pool, which he plans to eat when a massive solar flare knocks civilization back to the Stone Age. So, while a couple living in a gated home with 25,000 round ammunition has enough food to last half a century. God, that's 50 years. Whoa. Again, something you got to think about on that is the rotation and everything else. Okay. Now, more than 300,000 people a month visit the movement's websites, survivalblogs.com, which categories how people are preparing for the worst. 300,000 a month. Now, that don't mean these people are prepping. They are just looking at these sites. A lot of them are thinking on prepping. They are looking at it and reading it and contemplating they're going to do it. Some of them does eventually do it, but most of them never does. They just look at it and think on it. Okay. So, speaking to the Times, he said, talking about this gentleman here, who was James Ross, was talking about the government can't provide for everybody, and Now that realism is becoming more widespread. It talks about the 9/11 caused some people to start prepping, and after the Hurricane Katrina happened, Hurricane Sandy happened, it also made more people begin to do it. Post Olympic movies like The Road, which was released. And if you've seen The Road, it really messes with you a lot. I mean, it's all dreary and dingy and it does make you think. Now, the thing is here too is now there you can go to this site. There's a bunch of videos here, uh, older videos and stuff showing on about the news and different things. But you can see here the sign. This is what you'll see people standing out and doing, and they avoid people like that because they think they're all crazy and nuts in the head. The thing is that no matter what level you are at prepping, even having something prepared is better than having nothing prepared. But the number is just, like I say, we got close to 400 million people in the United States, and we might, the number might be higher than that, it might be a little bit less. But what's only 3 million people in the U.S. that they know of as preppers, because there's a lot of people that does not visit these websites at all. They do not want their name out there. They don't want to be associated. They're very quiet about it because they don't want people to know that they're even doing anything. Some preppers are very outspoken. They let things be known. Some of these preppers get on the YouTube sites, and I have a YouTube site as so many of them, but they show everything they've got in the cabinets, what they've got stocked up on food. They show all their water supplies. They show all this stuff, and that's okay if that's what they want to do. But most preppers like to keep things somewhat on a low key. I mean, they'll talk about things and they'll show things, but they also have things they don't show because you don't know what's going to happen in a real situation. And most preppers are not built like a brick crap house. As we used to say, boy, that man is built like a brick shit house. Well, most preppers are not. You've got the baby boomer factories, and I fall into that by a few years. But you've got a lot of older people that are becoming preppers after the children got grown and out the door. Then they started sitting back and they started realizing that, whoa, wait a minute. If I don't start thinking about some of this stuff, and when you start thinking about all the medications out there and everything, we start thinking more along that line. So you have a lot of older preppers out there that may not be in their 20s and stuff, but they're out there as old as in their 80s still prepping and preparing things. And even so, they make sure that whatever they're prepped, they're going to leave it for the next generation for somebody to have it in a place. 3 million preppers that is known of is a small number of around 400 million people in the United States. That's not a large number at all. And that's really sad. That is really a sad thing when you think about it. As again, like I said, 3 million preppers in the United States are prepared out of 400 million. So let's say things does happen, it goes bad for whatever reason. Some people prep because of the solar eclipse or whatever. Some prep because they think the power is going to crash. There'll be no more oil, no more this, no more that. It's all going to go downhill. Some of them think virus outbreak is going to be the cause of it. Whatever reason, Mother Nature, man-made, whatever the reason it is, zombie apocalypse, whatever it is, only 3 million preppers is not a very high number when you think about it. When you've got almost 400 million people, in the United States. What? 10% of 400 million would be 40 million. 3 million is not even 1% of that number when you think about it. So if SHTF happens, and these people who are aware of these preppers, I try to keep mine pretty well low key. I mean, I do my YouTube, my Mother Nature stuff and everything, but at the same time, I'm a little standoffish. Well, I do talk about my prepper stuff within the limits. I don't talk about a lot of it because I really just kind of can't really trust people a lot of it, because when the thing happens, the SHTF happens, this 400 million people are going to be looking for someone to help them. There is going to be people out there that's going to group together and they're going to survive. They're going to become part of this community. Now, there's prepper communities and stuff that's set up and everything. So then they are going to be faced with a choice: who to let into their communities and who not to let into communities. And that's something to think about. Are you going to let children in? Are you going to let women in? And the thing is that in a situation like that, grown people are going to use children as bait. So you have to think on all that. What is going to happen? 3 million preppers compared to almost 400 million people in the United States is not a very large number, when the number needs to be a lot higher. What is going to happen is going to be these people who has appeared on the Doomsday Prepper shows, these people who have showed their 5-year supply of food or whatever it is, who people in the neighborhood is very aware of these crazy preppers, as they think they are going to be coming and showing up on that doorstep with their hands out. And I've heard other preppers talk about it and post about it, that they'll try to get their kids or their friends or family to do some prepping, and they say, why should I when I can just come and stay with you? That's their answer. Why should I when I can come and stay with you? So, 3 million preppers isn't enough. We need a lot more. If we had 10% of that 400 million, that's 40 million preppers, excuse me, that we would stand a far better chance of surviving in communities and groups. You would have people with knowledge, more people with knowledge on how to survive. Unfortunately, most people go to the store, they get their stuff, they buy everything. They don't think, they're not trained, they don't have any knowledge on how to survive. It's a pretty sad number when you think about it. 3 million preppers is nothing. We need to have even a chance for most of these people to survive. You would need at least 10% of that 400 million, and that's 40 million people prepping. 40 million people who has knowledge, who has learned how to live off the land, who has learned how to cook their food, raise their crops, whatever it is. You are going to need that many people to even stand a chance for any of these people to survive. Because 3 million people, you say that sounds like a lot of people, but it's not. When you go from 400 million to a possibility of maybe 6 million people in the whole United States surviving, because you figure that 3 million people and just say times 2, you say you got 6 million, or you might be able to say 9 million. That's not going to be a very high number, and then you're going to have to fight off a lot of these people who are going to just flat out hurt you. You're going to find out who is your friends and who isn't in a worldwide SHTF situation. We need more preppers. 3 million isn't enough. I don't think it is. No matter how small you prep or how large you prep, prepping anything is better than prepping nothing. So this is Live Prepper here. I want all you to be safe, be happy. Bless you all.